Hi, I'm Rebecca, one of Crowdmapping's co-founders. This recording goes together with the Administration, Governance, Funding, and Resource Mobilization section in the Setup Toolkit that Crowdmapping made as part of our new Crowdmapping for Social Change project. This project aims to share lessons we learned in order to help other groups to more easily set up and maintain a successful crowdmap. When we started, the approaches and methods that we used were kind of new, so we did a lot of experimentation. And although everyone's situation and context are different, we're hoping that sharing what we learned can help others. The most important message that I want to convey is that setting up and running a project that uses crowd mapping does not require a lot of money and resources. Funding helps, but it's not a must. In our setup guide, we shared a lot of recommendations, but they're definitely not requirements. When Crowdmapping started, we had practically nothing. It was basically my friend Inji and I and a few volunteers. We had full-time jobs, and we were working on Crowdmapping on evenings and weekends from my living room and from cafes. We had no money, just $100 or $200 that we contributed ourselves to buy a used laptop, a flip chart, and pay for the SMSs that we were sending in response to reports. We didn't intend to start an organization or still be working years later. Of course, the ideal situation is to have a long-term plan and all the human and financial resources that you want. But the most important thing is dedication, persistence, and passion. The cost for running a project like this can be very low. It's almost all human resources. So you can definitely do this with a small team of volunteers if you need to. In general, the more time you can dedicate to planning, communications, networking, collaboration, integrating offline work, the better. In the Theory of Change section of this toolkit, we provided some prompts to help inform your decisions about the scale of your plans. Depending on your strategic choices, goals, and the scope of your work, you can minimize the human and financial requirements by starting small, seeing how things develop, and planning to grow. So, practically speaking, if you're an established organization, you'll probably want to dedicate one staff person to leading the process of getting the crowd map set up. The technical guide that Nora wrote as part of this toolkit will walk you through each step, so your project leader doesn't need to have any IT skills. But you do have to customize the site with your logo, your colors, your report form questions, if you'll collect reports of incidents and interventions, or just one of those, categories of reports, and all your content. And that can take a lot of time. This person can also manage the coordination among different people or departments in your organization. Depending on your strategy for how your crowd map will be used and what you'll do with the reports, we found that it's easier to involve your communications team, offline project teams, and researchers early in the planning phase. Even though you technically can change anything you want later on, it's better for data collection and consistency, and it's just more efficient if you work out your strategy, how your reports will complement your other work, the questions on your report form, your messaging about why people should report and what you'll do with the reports, and all those details from the beginning. If you're working on your own, we've tried to put together enough information in our setup toolkit to guide you through the planning step by step and share all of our lessons learned and all of our context so that you can launch a successful program with few resources. Almost everything you'll need will be human resources, so here are some things to think about. In our experience, it's especially important for individuals and small groups to have at least one dedicated and reliable co-founder who you trust and love working with. If you have many connections, you can consider forming a board of directors or an advisory committee. The more people that you involve, the more your ideas can grow and spread, but you do have to be cautious and choose who you work closely with well. You can also consider whether you prefer to work as volunteers or if you prefer to pay for staff salaries, marketing, offline activities, or anything else. Volunteer management, of course, takes a lot of time, but it also avoids the administrative hassles that come with raising money and managing grants. If you do decide to pursue funding and you have ideas for how to raise it, that's fantastic. If not, it was our experience that a launched project draws interest from donors without having to fundraise. So you might consider launching first and fundraising later. Monitoring your work for impact and communicating the stories that you gather well will help attract donors as well. Crowdfunding can also be a really good way to let people know about your work and your future plans and raise money at the same time. We put together some lessons learned from our one crowdfunding experience that you're welcome to read if it helps. Collaborative activities with other groups can also lead to funding from donors and help spread your ideas. We tried to include a lot more information in the toolkit to help you make these decisions. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer any questions, and you can reach us at info@harassmap.org or on Facebook at Harassmap Egypt.